In a quiet mountain town where everyone knew each other's business, one woman's obsession with control went far beyond the HOA rules she wielded like a weapon. This is the story of how she tried to crush a neighbor's dream cabin, but instead watched her own pristine life collapse into a pile of trash. It's a saga of petty complaints, unexpected revenge, and a community discovering just how far one person would go to reclaim their freedom. Before we get into the jaw-dropping details, make sure to watch until the end, because the twist in this story will leave you speechless. And if you're the kind of person who loves seeing bullies get their comeuppance, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this one. Our story begins with a secluded lot at the edge of the forest, a modest cabin rising from the pine needles. The builder, a quiet, methodical man who had saved for years, designed the cabin to blend with nature. Its cedar planks and stone chimney gave it a rustic charm that felt at home among the evergreens. But to Karen, the self-appointed enforcer of the neighborhood's HOA rules, it was an eyesore. She saw the unpainted wood as ugly, the solar panels as cheap, and the gravel driveway as a mess. She filed complaints with the board before the cabin was even finished, attaching photos with angry captions. Letters arrived at the cabin's temporary mailbox, each one a demand to change something. Paint it beige, replace the roof with tile, hide the panels, plant shrubs to block the view. When her letters went unanswered, she escalated to the county inspector, citing code violations that didn't exist. Each visit from the inspector cost the builder time and money. The stress was immense, but he stayed calm, quietly documenting each interaction. Meanwhile, Karen boasted at HOA meetings that she was saving property values. What she didn't know was that her crusade had made her a pariah among her neighbors, who were tired of her meddling but too intimidated to push back. That tension built like a pressure cooker as the cabin neared completion. By the time the final inspection passed, the builder had a thick folder of Karen's false complaints, a timeline of her harassment, and a plan forming in his mind. He wouldn't confront her directly. He would let her undo herself. Late one evening, he noticed a construction site sign advertising the county's new waste relocation program. Homeowners could volunteer their properties as temporary debris staging areas in exchange for a tax credit. A spark lit in his mind. He began researching every loophole, every clause in the HOA bylaws, every county permit related to waste and construction debris. Slowly, a picture emerged of how Karen's zeal for rules could be turned against her. This realization marked the end of his passive endurance and the start of a quiet but decisive counterstrike. As autumn deepened, the builder began making small, deliberate moves. Attending county meetings Karen skipped, filing quiet paperwork, and making friends with contractors who disliked the HOA. The stage was set for a reversal no one saw coming. The break between his old life as a target and his new life as a tactician began to blur just as the first winter snow dusted the rooftops. By December, Karen's complaints had reached a fever pitch. She posted photos of the cabin on social media, calling it a blight. She wrote an op-ed for the local paper about unregulated eyesores. She even mailed a letter to potential buyers in the area, warning them of declining property values. Her obsession was consuming her. Yet at the same time, trucks began to roll into the neighborhood under county permits, offloading neatly wrapped bundles of construction debris, soil, and recyclables onto a large, empty lot. Neighbors assumed it was part of a county project. Karen barely noticed at first. She was too busy photographing the cabin from new angles. Then one morning, she woke to find the lot directly across from her manicured yard, filled with pallets of old roofing and lumber. A sign read, "Temporary County Waste Staging Area, authorized by HOA Board Resolution." In tiny print was the signature of Karen herself, copied from a resolution she had pushed through months earlier, allowing temporary use of vacant lots for community improvement. She had voted for it to facilitate landscaping deliveries, never imagining it could be used for this. The builder had quietly acquired the lot through a friend and offered it up under the county program. Because Karen had championed the resolution, she had no grounds to complain. At first she tried anyway, writing furious emails, but the county sent back polite replies quoting her own statements about community improvement and civic duty. Trucks continued to arrive. What had been an empty field turned into a sprawling pile of debris. Her once pristine view became a tableau of tarps, bins, and dumpsters. Neighbors who once feared her began smirking as they passed. The HOA board, tired of her antics, refused to intervene. This was only the beginning. As spring thawed the snow, Karen's reputation began to crumble. The local paper that had printed her op-ed now ran a story about the Karen dump across from her house, quoting neighbors who called it poetic justice. The builder kept a low profile, working on his cabin's garden, planting wildflowers, and inviting neighbors over for quiet evenings by the fire pit. Word spread of his ordeal and his cunning response. Some called it petty, others called it brilliant, but everyone agreed Karen had brought it on herself. She tried to rally allies on the HOA board but found none. Her constant complaints had alienated even her closest supporters. Each attempt to shut down the waste site backfired, drawing more attention to her hypocrisy. She filed one last desperate lawsuit, but the county dismissed it, noting she had personally approved the permits. By summer, her property value had dropped, not from the cabin she hated, but from the eyesore she had inadvertently authorized. Contractors now used the lot for staging heavy equipment. The noise and dust drove her indoors. Her social media posts turned from gloating to victimhood. Meanwhile, the builder's cabin became a local landmark of resilience. Tourists hiking the nearby trail stopped to admire its design, snapping photos of its hand-carved beams and flower boxes. Articles appeared online about the cabin that beat the HOA. The builder never gloated publicly, but in private he kept a framed copy of Karen's first complaint as a reminder. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the pines, he watched another truck back into the staging area across from Karen's house. This load contained scrap metal bound for recycling. The clang echoed through the valley, a punctuation mark on a year of transformation. He felt no malice, only a sense of balance restored. Karen had chosen her path. He had simply stepped aside and let her walk it. As the county prepared to relocate the staging area to its permanent facility, the damage to Karen's reputation and property was done. The HOA quietly elected a new board without her. Neighbors began planning a community garden on the cleaned lot with the builder's help. Karen, defeated and isolated, put her house on the market at a loss. When the moving truck finally rolled away, few came to wave goodbye. In her wake, the community found a strange sense of unity. The cabin stood as a symbol not just of one man's perseverance, but of a neighborhood's breaking point. People spoke more freely at meetings. Petty rules were relaxed. The mountainside felt lighter, freer, and somewhere, perhaps far away, Karen was looking for another HOA to conquer, unaware that her name had become a cautionary tale. If you enjoyed this story of justice served cold and want to hear more real-life tales of HOA chaos and revenge, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss our next upload. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done in this situation?